Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Van Merkle with Take Two Healthcare. It's great to be with you this weekend. And I am Dr. Merkle, Doctor of Chiropractic. I'm board certified in clinical nutrition, and I'm a board certified chiropractic internist. And I'm also a certified clinical nutritionist. I've been right here in the Miami Valley for, oh my gosh, over 35 years, taking care of many wonderful people. And I've been right here behind this marvelous microphone, WHIO 1290 and 95.7 for over 25 years now. And this show this weekend is going to be different. This is a time that I've never seen in my entire life. I'm 63 years of age, and we're in a situation with a coronavirus that is, like I said, never happened before. Hope it never happens again. But I'm going to give you some things, some ideas today in this very fast hour that I believe can be significant, help you weather it, help you understand it better. And I'm going to give you some strategies and things that you can do to help you get through this period of time and to help not only your health now, but also in the future to come. But before we do that, we need to look at the coronavirus. And I know you're probably sick of it, but truly I've got some things that's going to blow your mind about coronavirus. It blew my mind when I was doing the research this weekend and even today, this morning. And we're going to talk about some things that destroys the coronavirus virtually faster and better than anything else. It's common, but it's not being even used or even talked about yet. And then there's some other things we're going to talk about. But first, let's go into first of all, a little bit about myself. I'm Dr. Merkle. I have a practice in Royal Swiss Village, and with my 3 associate doctors, with 3 of our team members here, Dr. Dyer, Dr. Yaley, and Dr. Marchek. And we've been helping people in the Miami Valley with people with serious conditions. Naturally, people with things like cancer and Crohn's and MS and lupus and things like chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and things like that. But I'm going to be talking about coronavirus here, and I don't want you to think for a second that I have a cure for coronavirus or cancer or anything else. I don't have a cure for any of that. I don't have a treatment. But you know what? Your body does. Your body already has an inborn, innate ability to fight the flu virus, the coronavirus, and virtually everything else. What we do is to try and, first of all, our patients, we test them to see what we need to do to get your body healthier. And we usually do that by one of 2 ways. One, by either reducing things that may be detrimental to your health. Let's suppose you smoke or you drink too much, or you're overweight, or you're diabetic. Well, you'd be healthy if you didn't have that. And also if you're being exposed to heavy metals, toxins, chemicals, things like that, pesticides, herbicides, all are a negative influence on your body, which suppresses your immune system. And then we also test to find nutrient deficiencies. Maybe you're low in vitamin D, you're low in vitamin C, magnesium, or some other critical nutrient. And so if we can combine those 2 together and let your body optimize itself, it's amazing what your body can do if we reduce the interference and provide the nutrients. Yes, your body can fight coronavirus. We already know that. Because what percentage of the people are actually, and I got so much material here in front of me, and we're going to talk about the 100 people who've got it, and let's just go through that. What we know about the 100 people who've died in the U.S., and this was March 18th that came out. The first 100 people who died in the U.S. What do we know about those people? And by the way, this is going to be on Facebook. I'm recording this. The actual picture with all these studies on it are going to be online at our Facebook. And you can go to our Facebook at take2healthcare.com and get that. And at that time, on the 18th, 112 people had died. Here's just some of the highlights. Most of them were 60 years and older. And older adults were twice likely to have serious illness from the coronavirus. The majority of people who died have been over 60. The youngest were in their early or mid-50s. Get that. The youngest were in their early or mid-50s. So younger people, infants, children, don't have to worry about this. The deadliest cluster has been in Washington in a nursing home. 20 people there out of 120 people in one facility. More people in long-term care facilities. These people were already sick. If you're in a nursing home, you already are sick. Other had health problems. Diabetes, emphysema, heart problems were pre-existing conditions that many people suffered with before they were diagnosed with coronavirus. And only a few traveled abroad. Death toll. And they go through each one. An older adult female, an elderly person, another, let's see, underlying health conditions, 70-year-old underlying health conditions, 60-year-old underlying health conditions. They all had underlying health conditions. 77 had been living in an assisted living facility. In my mind, if you're really healthy, you're not in an assisted living facility or a nursing home. Another 60-year-old, now I'm 60, I'm 63. They had other underlying and they usually just say underlying medical conditions. They don't necessarily go into it on what but they all had underlying medical history. Here's a 69-year-old, had a history of diabetes, hypertension, AFib, gastrointestinal bleeding, emphysema. So are these people, they're dying with coronavirus, but would they have died from coronavirus if they didn't have all these other pre-existing conditions? Another one, heart failure and lung disease. Multiple pre-existing conditions. Diabetes. A lot of these people have diabetes. And we don't know if it's type 1 or type 2, but if it's type 2, that's all avoidable. Another in his 50s had been hospitalized before it occurred. And so you go through all of these people. Healthy people aren't dying from this. Okay, but we know that. And the purpose of all this hand washing and all this stuff is so that grandma doesn't get exposed to it. So that the young people who are probably carrying it, and there are probably a lot of people carrying it that don't know it. In fact, probably a lot of children. In fact, let's see. I'm going through some material here, trying to find Mayo Clinic. Signs and symptoms of coronavirus may not appear after you've been exposed for 2 to 14 days, and that's a Mayo Clinic. And you can find all that stuff online, but Mayo Clinic, 2 to 14 days. So somebody may be carrying it for an extended period of time, and you don't know. Because the patient, even you might have it and you have no symptoms. In fact, only 17% of the people who are affected have symptoms. Most get it. It's a mild infection. It's kind of like the flu. A lot of people get exposed to flu, but most people are able to recover. And it's only the very sick. And that is what we're trying to flatten the curve. Flatten the spike. Now, what does that mean? Okay. We've got a lot of people who are at high risk, who are diabetic, who have heart disease, who are on medications, on multiple medications. And how many out there people listening right now, you think you're healthy, but you're on multiple drugs. You're on drugs for diabetes, for cholesterol, for blood pressure. All of these drugs suppress your immune system. In fact, if you're on any drugs, it's suppressing your immune system. And so you might think, hey, I'm doing okay. No, if you're on drugs, those affect your liver and your immune system, and any drugs are going to make you more susceptible to other conditions like flus and viruses. So what's the best thing you can do? Get healthy so you don't need the drugs. Now, I'm 63. I'm on 0 drugs. I have no fear about this condition. Now, I know that you've heard stories about some medical personnel coming down with coronavirus. emergency room doctors in Florida coming down with it. Well, you know, there's something. These people are like the regular population. They have diabetes. They're on drugs. Now, one doctor from New York, a emergency room physician, made a big to-do that he doesn't smoke. Now, what's the significance of smoking? Anything you do that causes lung inflammation is going to increase your risk of developing an airborne virus, which is what coronavirus is. It's what this virus is. It is an airborne. COVID-19 is the disease of this, and that's the problem. So, the fact that you don't smoke, if you do smoke, you have an increased risk naturally. But now, when I think about New York, when you look at the chart, and I'm going to pull up the chart here, if I can find it here. What parts of our country have the highest rates of coronavirus? Washington State, California, New York, and some of the eastern states. And what's the significance of that? Well, Washington was one of the first states to legalize marijuana. Smoking, this is my theory, I believe it's going to bear out, that if you do any smoking of cigarettes, marijuana, and vaping, all of those cause lung inflammation. They cause irritation to lungs. In fact, if I can find it here, and we all know that we're having more people with lung disease, emphysema, young people who are vaping. So when we start seeing younger people or young in their 40s or 50s medical personnel getting this, how many of them are smoking marijuana? Do you think a medical emergency room physician is going to admit that he's smoking marijuana? How would that be? True story. I was skiing about 2 weeks ago, just before they closed the ski slopes, and I was on a lift. There were about 5 of us guys on it. And true story, 2 of them were emergency room physicians from New York. They flew out to Breckenridge, and I was riding up, and then it's a long lift ride. And I was talking to these guys, and they said, a couple of them, hey, do you mind if we light up? I thought, oh, they're going to have a cigarette. I don't care. I said, go ahead and do what you want. And he said, no, we're gonna light up. I don't care what you do. Well, they pulled out a couple joints, and they were smoking marijuana on the ride up, and they were passing that. Now, this is coronavirus season, and they're passing those joints down the chairlift, and they offered it to me after 3 guys had already had their lips on it, and I'm thinking, I just said no, thank you. I've never smoked anything, and I'm thinking no, thank you. And so, how many of these people, if you're a doctor, and I'm not saying y'all are, I'm not saying any of them are, but you think there's a few that are probably smoking marijuana and vaping, but they don't want that out. So they get it. They're not going to share those things. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about some things that you may be able to do that's going to help reduce your risk of, we've already told you some, reduce your risk of getting the coronavirus and optimize your health even further. You are listening to Dr. Merkle with Take 2 Healthcare. And we'll be right back after this. And we're back. Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Van Merkle at Take 2 Healthcare every Saturday, 11 to noon. And it's good to be with you today. And I know we got a lot going on in our country, our community. And I do agree with that we need to kind of keep ourselves somewhat secluded. And because how does the virus spread? It spreads by contact, droplets, sneezing on people, being in contact with surfaces or things that have exposure to the virus. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Respiratory droplets, when a person coughs or sneezes, which is why you're supposed to be 4 feet away. It's not like these things are always going to be there. If you cough or sneeze, then it floats away or it drops to the ground kind of thing. And this is Can someone spread the virus without being sick? People are thought to be most contagious when they are symptomatic, but spread might be possible before people show symptoms. There have been reports of this occurring with the new coronavirus, but it's not thought to be the main way. The main way is by touching a surface or object or being in somebody's sneeze or breathing pathways. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. I made an error earlier, just a few minutes ago, and I want to correct that. Here's the study shows that 17.9% of people with COVID-19 coronavirus had no symptoms. So 18% had no symptoms. However, and I think this from the reports I've heard this morning coming in on the radio, that of all the people being tested for coronavirus, there's only, I think I'm right, about 12 to 15% are positive. These people have colds and flu symptoms. Well, this is still cold and flu season. And there's lots of reasons why you can have a fever, stuffy nose, sneezing, all that stuff, other than coronavirus. And so don't think you automatically have it. In fact, you only want people right now, in fact, President was on the air last night, don't get tested unless you have symptoms. Don't get tested unless you have symptoms, because if you don't have symptoms, a couple of things: you haven't been exposed to it, or if you do have it, your body's healthy enough to take care of it. And there's no need to test you because your body's healthy enough to deal with it. Again, the main concern is lowering the spike. What that means, and let's say in our whole country that there's going to be, 1,000 people are going to, let's say 20,000 people are going to get coronavirus bad enough to be hospitalized. Well, what they're saying is if we lower the spike, we're going to have the same number. But if we put people in their houses, stop congregating, stop being around each other, stop being crowded on buses and trains and breathing on each other, that we're still going to get it. But instead of having 20,000 people in a month get it, we're going to have 20,000 people over the next 3, 4, or 5 months get it. And so they don't want to overload the hospitals. Now, just a quick, you might hear something about COVID-19 and SARS-CoV-2. Now, the SARS-CoV-2 is the actual virus. The COVID-19 is the disease. And I'm going to use Dr. Dyer's analogy here. That's like HIV and AIDS. HIV is a virus. AIDS is a disease. If you have COVID virus 19, that's the problem, because that is where you have the active disease. Okay, moving on. So the supplemental strategy for anything, even flus, is to vaccinate children. Not that children have a terrible time withstanding these diseases, but the idea of vaccinating children is to reduce exposure to those who are at most risk, like older people. However, there's a study done, a U.S. study, that compared health outcomes for children between 6 and 18 who did and those who did not get annual flu shots over 8 consecutive flu seasons. And found that, listen to this, found that children who had received the flu vaccine had 3 times a higher risk of flu-related hospitalization, with asthmatic children at greatest risk. Did you get that? Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Merkle with Take 2 Healthcare. It's great to be with you today. Our office number is 937-433-3241, and our website is Take 2 Healthcare. But I want to go back to what I was covering just before the break, that children who received the annual flu shot had 3 times the higher risk of related hospitalization, with asthmatic children at greater risk. Here's another study, and Tracy sent this to me, and the article was received June 20th, 2019, revised in September 30th, 2019, and available online October 10th, 2019. It's by Greg Wolf and it's Armed Forces Health Surveillance Branch Air Force Satellite, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, United States. The title of the article, Influenza Vaccination and Respiratory Virus Interference Among Department of Defense Personnel during 2017-18 season. Purpose, and I quote, receiving influenza vaccination may increase the risk of other respiratory viruses, a phenomenon known as virus interference. Conclusions, and you can read the whole article there. Again, if you Google it, you'll probably find it. Conclusion, receipt of influenza vaccine was not associated with virus interference among our population. Our population is the Wright-Patterson Department of Defense. Moving on. Vaccine-derived virus interference was significantly associated with coronavirus. Let me say it again. It's kind of tiny print here. Vaccine-derived virus interference was significantly associated with coronavirus and human metapneumovirus. But then they go on to say there was protection against other influenza viruses, RSV, but it said there was interference with respiratory viruses, including coronavirus. So the point is, if you give somebody a flu vaccine, it may reduce the flu-related vaccines, but it may make you more susceptible to other things. That's what they call vaccine interference. So would you rather deal with the little colder flu, the regular annual flu, which most people get over, and healthy people have no problem taking care of the flu? And now we know that people don't have a problem dealing with coronavirus if you're healthy. It's only if you smoke, if you're diabetic, you have heart disease, you have underlying health conditions, or you're old. But my mom's 88, and I'm not worried about her at all because she's on no drugs. So lifestyle comes back. Choices come back. Is it possible that the more flu shots you take to reduce your risk of flu, and that's even somewhat debatable, but does it make you more susceptible to other more serious problems? Okay, hopefully you got that. I got to move on. Time is fleeting. Let's see. I got what destroys viruses and bacteria. Okay, a couple things. Here's an article I came across, coronavirus versus humidity. This is on MedPage, March 11th. MedPage. It's a blog. And on there, Dr. David Kerr has, it's on March 11th, where and how many coronaviruses diagnosed in the country. But David Kerr has an interesting thought here. And he states, and I'm just going to quote him here, read his letter, the mechanism of seasonal respect for seasonal respiratory virus is believed to be humidity, not temperature. In New York State, which has 22 cases of corona at that time, these virus particles lose moisture when indoor humidity is low, allowing the lighter particles to stay longer in the aerosol in the air. In Florida and Arizona, 38 cases, the virus in the air gain moisture and weight from the humid air and fall to the floor faster. Northern Italy, where people wear winter coats and the media reports, has dry, heated indoor air, while Southern Italy has humid indoor air. Southern Italy has fewer cases and deaths than Northern Italy. And he goes on and says, humidifying indoor air in schools, churches, stores may reduce seasonal influenza, coronavirus, etc. Because, again, in warm, humid climates, the viruses absorb water from the humidity in the air and sink to the floor, creating dust. And so he talks about the mechanism in detail, that because the coronavirus is very small in size, the dry, heated indoor air promotes viral spread. When in humid air, these virus particles attach to humidity and fall to the floor, and he thinks that is why the flu viruses and the coronaviruses will probably decline, and why the flu viruses and all these other viruses decline during the summer months is because humidity goes up, viruses don't stay in the air as long. So that's one thing. Fever. fever and coronavirus. I'm doing this at home, so I'm checking my computer to see when my next break is, etc. Okay, now there's some thought, and this is from the French health ministry. Said serious adverse events related to use of NSAIDs have been reported in patients with COVID-19, possible or confirmed cases. And we remind you the treatment of poorly tolerated fever or pain in the context. Basically, NSAIDs should be banned for treating fevers if you have COVID-19, if you have it. But they go on to say that basically fever isn't a disease. And hypothetical risk that NSAIDs could promote viral entry in a host as shown in animal models, but not in patients. Basically, NSAIDs have shown increased viral entry in animals getting NSAIDs, but hadn't been studied in patients yet. So they go on to say there's currently no scientific evidence establishing a link between ibuprofen and worsening COVID-19, but that doesn't mean there isn't one. It just means it hasn't been studied. They said there's no evidence, but has it been studied? And the statement on knowledge, some evidence that ibuprofen may worsen chickenpox and certain bacterial infections. And they go on to state each medicine has its own benefits, and I quote, and risk. Current advice includes those that these medicines are used at the lowest effective dose for the shortest possible period. And one physician argues fever is not a disease. Executive director of the American Association of American Physicians and Surgeons in a press release, she says very high fevers can cause brain damage, but don't pop Tylenol or ibuprofen at the first sign of fever. Fever is your body's way to help your body fight disease. It's like revving your engine up. These viruses are very heat sensitive. Their optimal temperature is 98.6. 98.7 is what viruses love, and it helps them grow faster. Too high, your fever gets elevated. It helps kill the viruses. And so there are studies showed that if laboratory animals took ibuprofen NSAIDs to reduce fever, that they died from infections that they normally would have recovered from, or that other laboratory animals recovered from that didn't get the Tylenol or Advil to reduce their infection. Okay, so we've covered fever. In fact, I know when I was a kid, I had a fever of 106. That is drilled in my mind, 106. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some vitamins after the next break, but there's one other thing here that I want to share with you. And here's the title of the article: Copper Destroys Viruses and Bacteria. Now, I know my time is short. Copper is antimicrobial. It kills bacteria and viruses, sometimes within minutes. And the article says in the 19th century, exposure to copper would have been an earlier version of constantly sanitizing one's hands. It's been shown to kill a long list of microbes, including the norovirus, MRSA, staph bacteria that are resistant to antibiotics, virulent strains of E. coli, and coronaviruses, possibly including the novel COVID-19, although it hasn't been tested yet for that. Microbes and viruses can live up to 4 or 5 days on plastic, those kind of things. But listen to this, and I don't have time to go into all this. The SARS-CoV-2 liked copper the least. The virus was gone in 4 hours when it was sprayed on a copper-containing material like brass and bronze, or straight copper. So copper is antiviral. It's going to help reduce infection. Look at your materials and see if you have brass or bronze. Bronze has higher level of copper than brass. But doorknobs, in fact, it goes on into some very interesting things. Copper kills better than ultraviolet light and hydrogen peroxide. Copper continually works 24 hours a day without supervision, without any need to intervene. It never runs out. As long as metal's there, it's good to go. And they've done this in studies in hospitals. Silver, colloidal silver, does not work as an antimicrobial when it is dry. Colloidal silver only works in a mist, in a liquid form. Copper works even when it's dry, which is why, and I know there's an article here in this, Atlanta has 50 water billing stations at the airport that are now made of copper. The train station at New York's train station has copper handrails for a reason. And so one of the things you can start doing is replacing your doorknobs with copper, and start, those things that are highly touched should be copper based. Like copper cooking utensils would be good to have. But you can overload on copper, which is why you need to get tested to make sure you're not overloading your body with copper. And we do that in our clinic with a hair test. There's something called Wilson's disease, where people have an inability to handle copper. But if you're being exposed to high levels of copper, it could increase your risk of other health problems. But if you're just got door handles, commonly held things like that, you're good to go. Now, when we come back from the break, I'm going to give you a protocol to follow that will help your body, your own body's immune system, better able to fight viruses. Yes, there are natural things that boost your body's ability to fight viruses. We're going to just stick with viruses right now. Viruses, and I'm going to share with that after the break. So get copper, change your handles, and I think we can get through this together. You're listening to Dr. Merkle at Take Two Healthcare. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. This is Dr. Van Merkle at Take Two Healthcare. It's great to be with you today, and we are talking about Corona and what you can do. I think, like I said on the last one, it wouldn't be a bad idea to get some copper handles, for your doors and things that are used a lot. If you own a business, maybe get some brass and bronze. Bronze has a little higher copper content, which is directly antiviral. Copper is antiviral directly, better than any drug or vaccine you're ever going to have. Using this stuff will help. Now, there are some other natural things. I'm a certified in clinical nutrition. I have over 35 years of experience dealing with natural products. And here's Dr. Kevin Spellman, PhD. And I like what he says. Herbs by themselves may not be the cure for COVID-19, but scientific studies have shown that some herbs have strong antiviral properties. For example, curcumin has been shown to be a potent fighter against a wide variety of viruses, including influenza viruses, PR8, H1N1, H6N1. And so curcumin, a great product. Well, ginger is also antiviral. So are bioflavonoids. So is vitamin C. And we do have a product that we still have. I'm surprised that we still have a product. And but we have awesome staff. Lindley was sharp enough to get this product ordered, and we have a product that's got all four of those: curcumin, vitamin C, bioflavonoids, and ginger, all in one product for you to take. 6 a day is what we recommend if you don't have any symptoms. 6 a day is preventive. Now, we only recommend you do this for the next 2 or 3 weeks, most 2 months. Lauricidin from the coconut is one of the strongest natural antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal nutrients ever. It's a phenomenal product. It's like mother's milk. Vitamin D and zinc chelator, things we're recommending. We've got these on our website. Take 6 a day of SBN curcumin, SBN CC, curcumin complex, lauricidin, vitamin D, and zinc every day. Now, if you have signs or symptoms, you can double that. And the beauty of these herbs and supplements I'm talking about, the worst side effect is you'll get diarrhea, maybe a little tummy ache or something like that, but it's rare. You can take high dose of this and you're not going to get sick. On the curcumin complex, my mom has taken as many as 18 a day. Lauricidin, people take 6 or 8 a day. Vitamin D, 2 or 3 times here. So these things are not dangerous. You might get a little diarrhea, but the potential of helping you boost your immune system to fight not just the flu, but maybe help your immune system better fight the corona and other viruses that are out there that we get exposed to every day. I take curcumin complex every day, 365 days a year, because curcumin is also great for its anti-cancer properties. It reduces inflammation. It's good for so many things. Why wouldn't you take it? And so I like that product. It's got everything in one thing right there. Loracidin, I take that virtually every day. Vitamin D, zinc, those kind of things. So be nice. Don't, when you go shopping, like people bought every toilet paper roll you can imagine. Same with other things. When you see other vitamins and other products out there, take just what you need. Don't hoard it. There will be more coming. This situation isn't going to last forever. I do believe as the humidity goes up, the weather improves, we get out, we got fresh air, wind blowing around, we get a little sunshine, get a little activity, our immune system is going to go up, and this virus is going to go away. I honestly believe that. It's going to be like the flu virus and these other things. And we're already seeing that in other countries. The flu virus is already starting to go down. New cases are down, etc. So stay inside, reduce your exposure, don't breathe on each other, wash your hands, be courteous, be nice, and we will get through this together. You've been listening to Dr. Merkle at Take Two Healthcare. This show will be recorded. You can listen to it at Take Two Healthcare, and also be on Facebook, the information about the nutrients we recommended. So have a great day. Try and enjoy your family. Facebook them, keep in contact, call them, use your phone, and we will get through this. I'm Dr. Merkle at Take Two Healthcare. Do something today to be healthier than you were yesterday. Take a walk, call your friends, eat some great healthy food, and by the way, go to church tomorrow. I'm Dr. Merkle.